Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. This is Doll's Folklore, a series by Kawasuma Tasuku, who most of you might know for No Guns Life. Well, this is another series he did. It only has 14 chapters. I believe it got canceled, but there's some interesting stuff in here that I think we should talk about. So, the basic story. The sole survivor and witness to the serial kidnapping case that drew national attention 10 years ago was Oyamada Yousuke. In the end, a total of 108 children vanished into thin air, and the case remains unsolved. Since that incident, Yosuke has been able to see evil spirits and has been attempting to seclude himself from society. But one day, he meets Kanno, a member of the anti-doll organization. She explains that the spirits that he has been seeing are called dolls and are the manifestations of people's incredibly strong emotions. Yosuke accidentally releases a doll named Makina that even the organization had to resort to simply imprisoning her instead of destroying her. However, Yosuke learns that Makina has a connection to the kidnapping case that he was involved in years ago. There is a very important case, it's called the Hamlin incident, and the Hamlin incident basically 10 years ago, before the present day of this series, there was a serial children disappearance case. In 1 month's time, 108 children suddenly disappeared. No one has any idea why, who did it, where the children went, why this number of children. The only witness who survived this incident was a 6-year-old boy named Yosuke. And so we get a little bit of a flashback where we see that he was hiding underneath a sewer grate. And throughout the series, we find out that this girl was there with him, and she opened up the grate and had him hide in there, and she went off to kind of distract the person who was kidnapping children. So all his life, he's been trying to figure out who was this mysterious person that saved him. 10 years after that incident, Yosuke is now 16. He lives with his grandma, and he never leaves his room because he's constantly looking at his astrology and discovering that it always says that for him, if he were to step out, bad things were going to happen. So he kind of locks himself in. And we have these two girls. One of them is named Eiko. I don't know if the other one was ever given a name, but it's supposed to be like, there's hints that Eiko might have a crush on Yosuke, or she's like a childhood friend or something. She has some kind of personal connection to him. But the series never goes anywhere with it. It feels like it's setting up that she's going to play a part in the earlier chapters, and then it just completely disregards her altogether. But yeah, Yosuke, he refuses to leave. On the news, he sees that's the 10th anniversary of the serial children kidnapping incidents, and he's been seeing weird things. We have like a brief flashback where he sees Eiko like having a headache, and he walks up to her and he dumps salt on her head, and whatever it is disappears. But she gets pissed off at him that like he's dumping salt on her head. So yeah, he's the only one that really seems to be able to see these weird creatures. And all of a sudden there's like a rustling noise, and he looks out the window and he sees this giant doll. And dolls are described as monsters. Here's a weird word that they use: condensation. So I'm just gonna read it out for you, but I don't know if the translation is just off or what, but it's a monster which is a condensation of people's thoughts made reality. Cannot be seen by normal people. These thoughts are what people tend to talk about as rumored stories, aka folklore. It is these folklore that decide their power. Though without them, the folklore, they cannot exist. So, yeah, I don't know what a condensation of people's thoughts means. Maybe a compilation is the word that they're trying to go for. But think of dolls almost like spirits, in the sense, spirits that feed off of like negative thoughts and energy, and those thoughts and energies kind of get personified into these creatures that assume the identity of different folklore creatures. So for example, the Hamilton incident is based off of the Pied Piper story. So all of a sudden he sees this creature outside his window. Looks like a giant head, and Yosuke has this tiny little toy sword, and the toy sword is his weapon. When he was a child, he was seen playing with the sword on the day of the Hamilton incident, and so this sword has like a huge connection to him. But He's like trying to fight off this doll when all of a sudden this woman on a motorcycle shows up and hits it with a not necessarily a guitar, but I'm gonna call it a guitar just to be easy on myself. But this is Kanno. Kanno is the secondary main character. Kanno is a annoying character. She's supposed to be seen as like violent and sadistic and foul-mouthed, but there's nothing like really redeeming about her. She's just a huge see you next Tuesday for the sake of being a see you next Tuesday. Like later on, they try to fit in some backstory and why she's the way she is, but by that point in time, it's like, I still don't care for her, which is a problem. Like the series introduces her in a negative light, in my opinion. Like she just comes across really annoying. So by the time you try to like redeem her, it's like, oh, this is actually how she, the reason why she is the way she is. It's like, yeah, but I don't care because I've hated her for so long that your backstory for her personality isn't gonna really help. She also has a tendency to curse a lot, and the funny thing is that maybe it's this the way the translators have done it, but they beep out some of the words she's saying. But later on, F-bombs, ass, bitch, all these other words are not censored. But she's still censored. Even the F word is not censored later on. But she's still being censored. So it's weird. It's like, what exactly is she saying? Is she saying like slurs? If so, that's kind of weird. But yeah, she goes to leave and she accidentally ends up hooking like her guitar strap to Yusuke, and he ends up coming along for the ride as he's chasing down this ghost. She says, like, if you're going to be hanging around with me, then why don't you be of use? Use your sword. And he's like, but this is a toy. She says, believe in it. After all, that thing is a surplus existence. So using a toy weapon isn't too strange, right? So basically, this creature is made out of thoughts. So as long as if you believe in your sword will be able to grant you power as well. So use it. It's really weird how they do this, but yeah, she uses her instrument to destroy, to hit this ghost, but she's still zooming down the street on a motorcycle because there's something that she has to do, and she's pissed off at Yosuke. She's like, because of you, I've lost valuable time, and eventually she like goes through this portal that she creates, and she ends up in this other part of the city. It doesn't really give that much of an explanation. It's just she uses her weapon to create this portal. She goes through. She appears in this other part of the city with this huge shrine with this person tied up with a bunch of talismans and stuff. And the city looks normal except for the fact that there's nobody there. So yeah, she's like, this place kind of exists outside of comprehension and consciousness. It's a 200-meter square space created by my allies and I. It's a space that is beyond consciousness. Kind of think of it like as an invisible wall or as a prison for something. And the prison is for this doll called Makina. Kanno's going to go and kill this doll when Yusuke sees the doll's face. And the doll has the same face as the little girl that saved him back during the Hamilton incident. So Yusuke refuses to let Kanno kill this doll. Like there's one moment where she's rushing at it and he grabs her by the pants and basically pants her. It feels like this series tries to give a lot of excuses to give fan service when it just seems kind of weird and out of place. But he kind of has this argument with Kanno where Kanno wants to destroy this girl, Makina, and Yosuke refuses. And so he rushes past her and uses his sword to cut all the ropes and stuff that are binding her. And Makina is now free. And Makina is a ghost, and she ends up branding Yosuke. And of course, Kanno is like pissed off. She's like, you have no idea what you just unleashed. Like, this thing is super strong. It's involved in the Hamilton incident. It's going to bring about a great calamity, and you just unleashed it. And over time, he discovers that Makina has branded him, and basically he has these symbols on his arms. And anytime the symbols glow and get bigger, it means that Makina is nearby. And whenever they get smaller, it means that she's not. And Makina basically has a connection to Yosuke. She is considered to be like the ultimate evil that was born from the Hamilton incident. So all the negative energies and thoughts and feelings that came from this Hamilton incident, this disappearance of all the children, it all formed together and it created Makina. So Makina is like the ultimate evil of all this. However, throughout the series, she actually helps Yosuke. She refuses to let any harm come to him. So the story is basically Yosuke ending up joining the anti-doll group, which consists of Saburo and Natsume, who are brother and sister. It also has this other character. I forget what his name is. He is a trap. He is a guy who likes dressing really feminine and stuff like that. He's actually a very interesting character. He's kind of has like this weird, unique personality, but it's entertaining, and his powers are pretty cool. His powers are basically that he can like create things from thoughts. So, for example, he is able to create a duplicate of himself. He's able to create a fake arm, and he wants to cut off Yosuke's branded arm and replace it with this fake arm that will attach itself and just act like a normal arm. So he's able to like create things out of thoughts and nothing. It's really unique. But yeah, and then eventually, over time, Yosuke starts discovering that Kanno also has something to do with Makina and something to do with the Hamilton situation. And yeah, the story is kind of just him. It reminds me very much of Jujutsu Kaisen 0, where it's him being connected to this spirit, this curse, and the curse is considered evil, but goes out of its way to help Yosuke. And Yosuke is trying to figure out how he can get Makina under control, as well as also trying to discover what Makina really is, what the connection is between him and Makina and Kanno. Why was he the only one allowed to survive the Hamilton incident? How is the Hamilton incident, like why did the Hamilton incident happen? And how is it going to bring about this great calamity, 10 years later? And there's a lot of interesting things in here, but it just never really hits its stride. And I think maybe that has to do with the cancellation. I'm assuming it gets canceled, and the reason I say that is, one, because it's only 14 chapters, and two, because it starts feeling really rushed. Like things just start happening really, really quickly, rather than kind of building up towards them. Yeah, it kind of just info dumps near the end. I will say that there is an ending. It doesn't like leave you completely open-ended. Like it has like its ending. Not the most satisfying of endings, but at least it's an ending. I won't spoil it just in case anyone wants to read this series. I'll leave a link to where you can read it down in the description below. But yeah, it's one of those series where it feels like it has a lot of potential, but it just doesn't really hit its mark. Yosuke could be a really interesting character, but he's too much of a pushover. Like he lets, especially Kanno, he lets Kanno just walk all over him constantly. Kanno just comes across very, very annoying. She is just the ultimate annoying. Like, those series where you have the tsundere characters who are constantly physically assaulting the main character for no good reason, and it's supposed to be taken as like some kind of joke or a gag. Well, picture that happening constantly, but there's nothing funny whatsoever about it. Not to say that I find that those characters really annoying, and I really hate that gag where like the character says something and then the female character beats them up and we're supposed to laugh, and it's like, no, that's physical abuse. Why would I be laughing at that? But yeah, there's a lot of that here. She beats him up constantly for the littlest things. I mean, and not just beats him up like a punch or anything. She will like kick him in the balls and stuff like that. She's also constantly yelling at him and cursing him out. Even when he does something good and he helps her out, she curses him and tells him not to get a big head, or he doesn't allow him to like stew in the moments of good things that he does, in a sense, like to celebrate those moments. She's constantly undercutting him, so she comes across very annoying. And the fact that she's like a huge character in this and plays a big part in the story kind of doesn't help. But just there's a lot of things here that are kind of interesting. Just the fact that these enemies are created from the negative thoughts and emotions of people. I mean, that's been done a lot of times before. But the fact that rather than just becoming ghosts, the fact that they actually, those thoughts personify themselves into like folklore and urban legend characters is kind of interesting. I wish that they kind of explained some of their powers a little bit. It's like, so for example, Natsume's powers is that she can create like these like shikigami Basically, it kind of looks like just like paper figures that she can like control and manipulate. So she can use that to like hover over the other players and talk to them and have conversations with them. She can kind of use them as drones to fly them around and try to search the area. She's able to use them like kind of as a shield if she gets a bunch of them stacked together. She uses one of them to drive a car. So she has like, that's a pretty interesting ability. The brother Saburo, his ability is he has this camera that anytime he takes a picture, he can create like these blocks. And he can either use the blocks to trap people inside, or he can use the blocks as like stepping stones. So he can create a bunch of he can snap a bunch of pictures, create a bunch of blocks, and then other people can use those blocks as stepping stones to get up to higher areas. Or like I said before, he can snap a photo of someone and trap them inside the block. And the only way the block disappears is if he rips up the photo that he just took. So it's like you get some cool abilities like that. Yeah, like I'm always, one of my favorite genres is monster hunting. Like, I love stories where you have characters either using weapons and equipment or using special abilities, and they go and they hunt monsters, ghosts, whatever. Like, stuff like Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Hellblazer, Hack Slash, Supernatural, like, whatever. Those kind of stuff. Huge fan of that. So, you have that. And there's a lot here that could be really cool, especially, like, just the Hamilton incident. Like, so you got not only this mystery of him with these powers and these creatures called dolls, but then you got this overarching mystery of 108 children disappearing, and how is that connected to the whole plot going on, and how is that connected to our main characters, and what's the whole deal. So you got a lot here that you can work with, and it just never fully executes them all the way it could, which is a huge shame. And maybe that's why it failed and they got canceled. Or maybe it's just because, I don't know, Japan has, like, I've done a lot of these manga spotlights, and some of them that I've done and praised have ended up getting canceled. Meanwhile, you get a bunch of like the cliche isekai, harem, power fantasies that last for like hundreds of chapters. So it's kind of like, I don't know what it is exactly that the Japanese population really likes, but yeah. I will say that this one, I can see why it got canceled. Like, there's other series I've done where like the fact that it got canceled, like, it makes me like sad, because it's like there's so much here. It was so good. It could have kept on going. Like Ayashimon was freaking amazing, and that didn't survive. But this, I can kind of see why. It doesn't nail down the potential that it has, and especially later on, it just gets really rushed. I'm assuming that's maybe because it was getting canceled. But even before that, even in the beginning, there was just moments where it's like, oh, you could have done this a little bit better. But it's still an interesting series. Like, it's not terrible. The rating that Manga Dex has is 7.64 out of 10, which is actually not that bad. Anything like in the 7s or higher is pretty good. I can kind of see, like, if I were to grade it from 1 to 10, yeah, I'd give it maybe a 6.5. It's above average. It's not terrible, but it's not great necessarily. So why am I talking about it? Because I guess I just wanted to show something that, like, in my opinion, had so much potential and just didn't execute it as well as it could have. And again, I mean, it's free. It's short, 14 chapters. You can read this in like a day, not even. So yeah, give it a chance, give it a look, see what you think. But yeah, there you go. There's Doll's Folklore. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope to see you next time. Take care, everybody. Later. So what'd you guys think of that video? Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that bell for a notification, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't enjoy the video, thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next video is more to your liking. Feel free to check out the playlist that you guys see, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.